Hey guys, Kris here. In this video, I am finally testing the Skoda Enyaq. I know guys, you have been asking for this car for months and finally I have a car on hand. So guys, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell because the next week of content is going to be awesome with the Skoda Enyaq. And after I have this car, I'm going to have the Audi e-tron GT. So the next 2 weeks, yeah, they're gonna be pretty cool. And guys, before we start with the test, I just want to say I've had the ID4 for a week and then I've been in my e-tron and the Polestar 2 just for a few days before picking up this car. And hopping into this car, this is so much closer to something like an Audi e-tron or a Polestar 2 in quality, in materials, in luxurious feeling than it is to an ID4. This really is a completely different vehicle. I know I've said in a previous video that this is basically the same as an ID4, though it shares the same platform. This interior is totally different. Materials, design, luxurious feeling is just at a completely different level. And also guys, we have physical buttons on the steering wheel. We have a scroll wheel for the volume. Yeah. This is pretty awesome. Physical buttons down here, physical buttons here. Yeah. So guys, I can't wait to test this car in the upcoming week. Okay, so enough about that. Today's test is a range efficiency and charging test in this car. We're starting here at Circle K in Furuset in the pouring rain, as you guys can see from out of my video. We're going north to the Mjøs Tower and then we're going back again to this starting point. 260 kilometers round trip on the motorway with 100 and 110 km/h speed limit. That's about 60-70 miles an hour. When we get back to this point, we're going to connect to a charger to see what kind of charging speed we do get, after a few hours on the road. And then it's a bit cold today. It's about 8 degrees Celsius because of this weather. And then at the end of the video, we're going to calculate our theoretical range based on the consumption. So we're just charging to 100% stated charge here, and then we will be on our way. We are now Oscar Mike and we've been on the road for 28 minutes, as you guys can see, and the weather is pretty terrible, and we also have a headwind of about 5 meters per second, meaning our average consumption, guys, is pretty darn high. 29.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers after 48 kilometers traveled. So this is to be expected. From videos and tests I've seen online, this car shouldn't be more inefficient than the ID4. It should be about the same, or in some cases it's even more efficient, but it's just as quiet and even more comfortable. This is even a bit softer in the suspension setup. This thing rides beautifully. And guys, this infotainment system here, to my big surprise, is better than what you find in Volkswagens. So first off, I'm going to do a whole separate video, but I mean, this is apparent after only half an hour on the road, guys. Half an hour. I've already been able to customize this home screen to my liking. It's not 100%, but it's so much better than in the ID car. So first off, the screen's bigger, 15 inches, and that really doesn't matter because the big screen in the ID4 is 13 inches, which is big enough. But here on the left side, I have my driving data. So you have your distance, your time, average speed, and then your consumption, all the good stuff. And then in the middle here, you have your navigation information. So you don't have the map here, but you have, the distance, the time you will arrive, and that is pretty nice. And then on the right side here, you have configurable tiles. So I have set this to the vehicle, and you can see it also has like a proximity sensor. I set that to the vehicle, meaning that, and also set it to the charging, preset it here to the charging, meaning I will get my stated charge just by one press. And to go back, you press the home button there. And then I also have my Apple CarPlay, and then I have a navigation. So everything is just super easy. And on the bottom screen here, you also have, your temperature for your seats. It's just easy to use. You don't have to, press it and then you're into a sub menu. The same with the temperature. You just press it. So simple. Then you have shortcut buttons. You have home. You have settings. You have favorites. You have your phone. You have menu. I mean, this is so much better than what you have in the ID cars because you have a whole bunch of shortcut settings. Yes, it is a bit overwhelming at first, But once you get used to it, I mean, I've been on the road for 30 minutes and I could already, you know, show you guys that. And then you also have information on top here, you know, your clock, you know, your clock, your phone, everything. And then, you know, you have your heated steering wheel here, and that lights up there on the screen. I mean, this is so easy and simple to use. A bit overwhelming at first, but yeah, after half an hour, I'm already, you know, comfortable with it. And then you have the physical buttons down here. So you have your drive modes, you have your park assists, you have your shortcut to your climate, and yeah, it's just super nice, guys. And this is what I have been on about with the ID cars. And if you don't know what I'm on about, check out my previous video where, you know, I'm answering the question, have I changed my mind about the ID4? So if you want to know the answer to that, check that video out. Okay, guys, we're just going to soldier on now. A bit of a rant, I do apologize. And then we're going to go to Mjøstorna and see our consumption when we get there. We are now approaching our turnaround point here at the Mjøs Tower, or Mjøstorna, that wooden skyscraper there in the distance. And this weather, guys, is just terrible. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. Okay, let's take a look at the consumption. 29.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Yeah, I haven't seen this consumption in any car since, yeah, this winter. So that goes to show you that this heavy rain, this terrible weather, and the headwind we have today, yeah, that is pretty bad. So hopefully we will, you know, have better consumption on the way back. But let's take a look at our state of charge, which is at 49% state of charge. Yeah, that's not too good either. But hopefully we will have, you know, lower consumption on the way back, because we're going, you know, from a higher elevation here to a lower elevation, as well as we will have that tailwind on the way back. So yeah. So okay, let's turn around here, go south, back to our starting point, and then see what our consumption ends up at. Okay guys, we are now back here at our starting point, Circle K Furuset, and thankfully, guys, this terrible rain weather we've had today has now stopped. So it's actually stopped raining and started to dry up around on the roads here. So we're just gonna check the consumption now, which has also dropped considerably. So let's turn on the camera here. And you know, at the point I thought we weren't going to be able to make it back, but yeah, the consumption now is 26.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, 107 kilometers an hour in average speed. We hit a bit of traffic here, so maybe like a minute or two in traffic, and then 258 kilometers covered, 2 hours and 26 minutes on the road. And when the state of charge dips below 10%, it shows up here in the digital gauge cluster. So 7% state of charge, left with 30 kilometers to go. So now we're going to go to the other side of the town, to Circle K in Sandvika, and then we are going to connect to a charger and see what kind of charging speed we do get. And then after that, we're going to calculate the theoretical range under today's conditions. We are now here at Circle K in Sandvika, and we're going to connect to the charger here. And then I also have set up my GoPro on my tripod, because I'm also going to film, you know, after this video, my 10 to 80% stated charge charging test and charging time test. So if you want to check that video out, that will be dropped tomorrow. So okay, so we'll have to open up the flap here, which is manual, remove the bottom part, and then we want to connect to the charger first. So I think I'm going to switch hands here, guys, to make that a bit easier, like that. And it's going to communicate now, and when it's done, it says please wait. Then we will you know, use our card here, or rather our RFID chip. Please pay, like that. Payment accepted, and this should go pretty quick. These ID cars, these MEB platform cars, the Volkswagen ID cars, and also the Skoda Enyaq, seem to be very quick at, you know, starting to charge after initializing. And hopefully, like the other ID cars we have tested, or MEB platform cars, we should hit that peak speed quite immediately. So 2% state of charge while we connected to the car. And yeah, we are climbing pretty rapidly, as you guys can see. We should hit that peak speed of 125 kilowatts. This has the, you know, this is the IV80, which has the 77 kilowatt hour net battery capacity. So yeah, 121 is what we're hitting quite immediately. So yeah, it looks like we are hitting that speed. So I mean, we're just gonna, it won't climb anymore, maybe just a few kilowatts. Ambient temperature is now like 11, 12 degrees. So, you know, the temperature has risen a bit, but not too much. So 122. So yeah. Before we end the video, let's take a look at today's consumption and also calculate theoretical range. So today's consumption was 26.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is actually quite high, and 4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers more than the run we had with the ID4 earlier in the week. And yeah, the reason for that is the terrible weather we had today. We had terrible rainfall. I mean, like torrential rainfall today. It was pretty crazy. And also the temperatures were a bit lower, you know, as low as 7.5 degrees Celsius, and also the strong headwind we had, you know, on the first leg of the trip. This car also has 21-inch wheels, while the ID4 had 20-inch wheels. That may be, you know, a contributing factor, but I've also read from people that the 21-inch wheels on the ID4 are more aerodynamic than the 20-inch wheels, so that might be the case with this car. So, I mean, either way, I think I'm going to do this run again later in the week when the weather is a bit better. Okay, so let's take the battery capacity of this car, which is 77 kilowatt hours, and then we divide that by the consumption, which is 26.5, and then we multiply that by 0.97. That's about a 3% heat loss. I think that's quite reasonable, you know, under today's conditions. We get a theoretical range of 281 kilometers, which isn't good actually. I mean, considering the conditions, I guess it is okay, but that is like 50 kilometers less than we have got with this car on dry weather with, you know, a bit milder temperature. So that goes to show you just how, you know, sensitive EVs are to, especially traveling at high speed over longer distance, how much range you actually do lose. So I find that very interesting. But that's why I want to, you know, do this test again when we have dry and nicer weather to see, you know, if this car can match the ID4. I totally believe that it can match the ID4, but I just, you know, want to test that for myself. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys there and goodbye.
Cloudless skies in the mid